Hey peeps, hope everyone's well. Let's have a look around it, let me know what you think about it. So here is the Triumph Bonneville T120 and it's the 2022 version. What we'll do, we'll have a look around the bike. If you're interested in the specs of this bike, I'll put those on at the end. As you'll know from my videos, generally I don't like to talk facts and figures because there's enough of that on the internet anyway. I just want to show you key elements of the bike that I like, what it's like to ride, what it looks like. So if you're interested in that, make sure you stay tuned for the test ride afterwards as well. But for now, let's have a look around this beautiful classic motorbike. I really do like the twin pipes on these. I think it is a nice classic look to have the pipes coming out the back. Yes. And the seat, as you can see, we have a substantial amount of padding on this seat, and albeit it's a brand spanking new bike, the seat is nice and comfortable. It's not hard at all, so it is really nice and comfy. Now, lovely chrome exhaust pipes, but the engine, they've not tried to make it too flashy. It's not got loads of chrome bits on it, but it does look nice. There she is in all her glory. We'll just have a look from the back so you can see the tank shape as well. The pinstriping that's been done in here, you can see it's been done by hand, and I don't know if it picks it up that well on camera, but I don't think that's particularly well done. You can see all the lines on it. I don't even think it's straight, if I'm honest with you. Must have had the apprentice on this one. You've got your classic speedo, which I like it being nice and simple. Rev meter this side. We do have a gear indicator just here, and you've also got your miles that have been done, and we have got a fuel gauge. Now I think that's very important. I've mentioned it before on previous videos that I've done. There are quite a lot of bikes, even brand new ones coming out now, that still don't have fuel gauges, and I'm not one for the fuel light coming on. That would just get me into a bit of panic, and I know you can get about 20-30 miles when the fuel light comes on, but still, I don't want to do that. I want to get to about a quarter and then fill it up again. Buttons on this side, there's not a great deal of buttons on here. We've got your high beam, low beam, your indicators, we've got a horn, we've got an info button there that I think just changes the information that's on there. We've got your flash over here. There you go. Now what this bike does have, which has surprised me a bit, as standard, is cruise control. Right there, cruise control button. So as long as you're in third gear or above, going over 30 miles an hour, you can click on that and your cruise control comes in nice and easy. Nothing difficult setting that. And then on the other side, again, just a couple of basic buttons with your start, stop, and your hazards. That will do us for the walk round. Tell me what you think about it, as always, in the comments. Let me know how you feel about this bike, if you've got one, if you've had one, things you like, things you don't like. Let's share, let's start a conversation, get the comments in. So join me for the test ride, and let's see what this is like on the move. Cheers fellas, and ladies of course. Keep watching. My initial impressions on this bike are that it is very comfortable. You can see it's not too high for my short legs. I'm flat foot on both sides. My bottom is in a happy place. I've got to say the gearbox on this is outstanding. The gears are really, really smooth. This bike is no slouch. But as you would also expect, we do have absolutely nothing by way of wind protection, so the wind is just hitting you straight on the front. So I'm feeling a bit like a windbreak at the minute. It really is a lovely bike for these types of roads, you know, 50-60 mile an hour roads, sweeping bends. What's not to like? You can see in these mirrors that there's just little to no vibration with them, so everything is crystal clear at the back, so you do have a nice view out the back. This style of bike, I don't think you can beat the bar end mirrors. I do think they look so much better on this style of bike, but you know, like with a lot of bikes at the minute, it's very, very easy to customize. There will, I'm sure, be aftermarket parts available. Let's check the front brake. Okay, now the front brake is really, really nice and sharp. I like that. And a back brake test, nothing behind us. Okay, so that's really nice and sharp as well. Do like how that feels. Certain bikes bring out people. Now, I would say when I've been out riding bikes, quite often the bikes that actually bring out people who want to come and talk to you are the classic bikes. And as I was doing the walk round video in the car park, security come and got me because they wanted to know what I was doing, and I told them, just doing a nice little YouTube walk round video. At which point he spent about half an hour then talking to me about his previous bike history, and that he had a bike very similar to this one during the late 60s, early 70s. And I do think you get a lot of people when you're out and about that, you know, it's quite nostalgic to see a classic British motorbike on the road, albeit there's not a lot made in England at the minute. But when people see these of a certain generation, they will come over and they want to have a chat to you about it, because it brings them to a time where, you know, they've had one themselves, remembering their youth and all that. And it's quite nice to talk to a fellow biker. It does have the same issue as what the Royal Enfield had on one of my previous videos, the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, in that when I put my feet down, the pegs are right there where your feet go down, so you do have to kind of spread your legs a little bit or put your feet slightly in front or behind the pegs, so it kind of creates a bit of a weird standing position. Now, it's not a massive issue, it's not a deal breaker for me, because I can't blame a bike for my short legs, but it's just not perfect as far as that goes for me. If you've got long legs, if you're one of those giants, then yeah, you won't have an issue with this. And I think even if you're a little bit smaller as well, you're not going to have an issue with this. Thing you'd have noticed on the walk round, this bike doesn't come with heated grips, so not a major issue. You know, for less than £100 you can get some Oxford heated grips fitted, so it's not the end of the world. It's a quick fix. Flat foot and flat foot, I do have to come out a little bit, just as I mentioned before. The foot pegs are just digging into me calf just a little bit. Let's try a little bit of filtering. Yeah, no issue at all. It's not a particularly wide bike, so I didn't think there was going to be a problem with that. And who doesn't love a little bit of sneaky in the morning? I certainly do. So I'm going to give this a little go down the motorway just to see what it's like. The fact that it's a naked bike, you've got no wind protection, you do feel the wind hitting you. So let's take it up to 70 mile an hour. $70 miles an hour. Yeah, you do feel like the wind is just trying to take you off completely. It is blowing you all over the place. So for me, as a touring motorbike, I don't think it's ideal for that. If you take it down to about 55-60 mile an hour, it's a really pleasant place to be. It's comfortable. You don't feel like you're going particularly quick. So, you know, as a little plaything, yeah, I love it. But as a long distance tourer, for me, it's just not going to cut it because of the wind protection. But I appreciate that not everybody wants to go out and buy a bike for long distance touring. Some people just want to have that little plaything or something to commute to and from work on. And I don't think there'd be a problem with this bike for those kind of things. You know, even like what I've just done there, a little blast down the motorway just to see what it's like. You know, if you're only doing a couple of miles, you wouldn't have an issue. Oh, and I'm noticing the lack of heated grips now. It's a bit cold today and my hands are feeling it. You can get a nice feel for it within an hour. So a test ride is always good. So if you are looking to buy a bike, I would always advise take one for a test ride. Test rides will tell you instantly if you are going to like, love, or just not get on with a bike. You know, sometimes you can get on a bike and it just doesn't feel right for you. It could be the peg placement on the floor. It could be that you don't find it to be powerful enough. It could be that you just don't feel comfortable on it, whether your back's too far forward or too straight for you. You know, there's loads of reasons why you wouldn't get on with a bike, and that's why I think it's always beneficial to do a test ride. And that's what winds me up with some garages when they don't allow you to have test rides. If I had the finances available that I could have lots of bikes in my collection, then would I consider one of these bikes? Then yes, I would, because it's a comfortable bike. It's got that lovely classic motorcycle look to it. It is a nice bike. Would I have one as my only motorbike? I would say no. And it's not that I don't like this bike, because I do like this bike. It's just purely that for what I'm using motorcycles for at the minute, it just doesn't suit my needs. And it doesn't, because I've got things in the pipeline for this year. I want to do a big old tour of Europe where I'm going to be doing thousands of miles. Now, I'm not saying that this bike isn't capable of doing thousands of miles, because it most certainly would be, but I would be expecting to do a lot of motorway miles during my journey, and the lack of wind protection on this bike it just doesn't do it for me. But it is a lovely bike if you're just looking for a motorcycle to play on the weekend, to go out with the lads, to meet up for a coffee with the boys. This bike is fine for that kind of stuff. It is absolutely fine. It is a beautiful machine. and it rides really, really well. I'm being slightly unfair with this bike in that I know it's capable of doing all of these tours and things that I'm going on. I just think for what I'm doing, there are more comfortable bikes out there, and that's why I'm interested to know of people who actually own these bikes or have owned these bikes. If you have done a long journey on them, if you have done a tour on them, tell me what your experience was. Put a note in the comments. I've enjoyed my time with it, being a nice bike to ride. I cannot complain about the ride of it. I can't complain about the power of it. It's very comfortable and it's very smooth. You know, the engine's lovely. There's not a lot of vibration with it. You've got a lovely exhaust note, and it's a decent price point as well. So if you're interested in the facts and figures for this bike, I know some people are. For me personally, I just like to know what bikes ride like, but if you are one of those that like to know all of the facts and figures, including price, then just stay tuned. I'll put some details up right at the end so you can see. So for now, that's a bye-bye from me. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to do a like and subscribe, and I shall catch you on the next one.